Thank you so much, Madam Master of Ceremony. I so much enjoy Dr. Maria Nira. You start with the light. Okay. And I think that we tend to forget the nature, how much importance. Nature is not only just our mother, we human being, but it's also our teacher. Why we can develop as a human being like today, we constantly learning from nature. But we tend to forget, we think that we prefer too much man-made, think we can conquer nature, right? So this is so much important topic. I appreciate that the organizers, the World Federation of the Public Health, Federation of Public Health, and also Park Victoria to organize such a wonderful congress, particularly this session to bring nature and health together. I thank the Congress organizers for this vital issue in Congress program, and Park Victoria for helping with my participation in this important event. Dear fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I will start by introducing my organization, IUCN. It seems that I still need to say a few words because it's easy to be pronounced as ICUN, okay? And then I follow by 5 points. I hope as a keynote speaker, I can help you to work together with the IUCN. As you may all know, IUCN is the world's oldest and the largest membership-based environmental organization, started in Paris in 1948. And before, there were actually no Ministry of Environment, and before you could study environmental science and universities, it is impossible. Over 1,400 organizations, state members, normally represented by Minister of Foreign Affairs, and also government agency members, and the institutions, including scientific institutions, academia, and the civil society as an NGO, in over 160 countries are the members of IUCN. And IUCN feel particularly proud in the year of 1999 has been given the permanent observer status representing all the organizations for conservation and environmental protection, participate UN General Assembly, like a normal organization of convention or UN agencies. And there are more than 16,000 expert members of the 6 IUCN commissions. The founders of IUCN had a vision to bring together and combine action of governments and of civil society and scientists and experts in this field. Why? In 1948, the founder of IUCN had this idea to bring all the stakeholders together to see the conservation and the preserving nature are so much challenging and so much vital. I think that when I was elected as a president in Jeju, year of 2012, and the people always tell me that IUCN is a very complicated organization. So after 4 years of serving as president, I found intricacy of this complex organization. I appreciate so much the founder of IUCN and all the members to bring this critical convening power so as no matter you are private sector or public sector, scientific institutions, think tank, all the ordinary local community, indigenous peoples, NGOs. But we can always find through this convening power of the converging of the interest so as we can completely improve the status of the world in terms of protecting the nature and benefit the people, especially people's health. So you can see that it was a partnership of nature conservation. Now we need new partnership to help us with our many challenges ahead. My second point is regarding the change, connection, and the disconnection. If anybody would ask me what is the two words depicting the feature of the current world situation, I would like to use the word change and uncertainty. The change accelerating so fast, independent of man's will, especially those disruptive change, so that to make uncertainty become shorter and shorter. We are living in a time of enormous global change, transformational change. In this pace, it is scale and its impacts on our planet, on the future of our children. Through technological change, we are more connected to information, to knowledge, and each other. But alongside our increasing connectedness and the power to change our world sits a growing disconnectedness from our nature world. So what we see that dependency of the nature is my third point. I think that it is clear to you, this Congress, that we depend on our nature world. It is such a high level of consensus and urgency has been developed in this Congress. But while nature can survive without human, but human cannot survive without nature, even 1 minute, the air we breathe. Nature plays a critical role in human health and well-being. Sadly, this dependency is not well reflected in our economic and social decision-making. Otherwise, our small planet would be in a much better condition. Our resilience on nature, aside from obvious essentials of the food, water, medicine, fuel, and shelter, has been known for centuries and shaped some of our early health systems. For example, through the use of the nature settings for hospitals and health spas. And ladies and gentlemen, I know that the Victoria and Melbourne has been constantly listed as the most livable city. And I have an honor to help my country, my province, establish sister relationship with Victoria states. So before I come here, I decided I must visit. One of the reasons is conserving of the nature. I asked to visit one of the urban green space. So Park Victoria took me yesterday to the Yana Bend. So I'm so much enjoy visiting there. I surprised to know that last century there was a hospital and asylum next to this beautiful nature park in metropolitan Melbourne. The hospital and asylum has long gone, but the park is now heavily used for recreation, exercise, as well as to conserve its riverside plants and animals. Generally, though, the industrialization and increasing urbanization of our societies has distanced us from these learnings. Now, as many speakers at this Congress has said, the major causes of diseases and death is our lifestyle. Our diets, physical inactivity, social inequality, and lack of access to the basic ecosystem services and clean air and water. All of this involves some degree of disconnection from our nature world. Encouragingly, ladies and gentlemen, there is growing interest in understanding the importance of a healthy nature ecosystem to human health. We are so glad that ecosystem that advocated and scientifically promoted by IUCN now has already been written in SDG 2030 Agenda and the Paris Climate Change Agreement. A major review published in 2015 by the World Health Organization and the Convention on Biological Diversity clearly set out the importance of nature in contributing positively to human health. I acknowledge this important collaboration and the work of these two organizations. I want to briefly reflect on the many studies that connect nature to human health and well-being. They range from studies showing that voluntary activity to conserve and restore nature generates positive social and mental health outcomes. Contact with nature improves the physical and mental development of children and enhances learning. Access to green space in cities reduces obesity and also depression. Contact with nature has beneficial impacts on individuals and groups experiencing social exclusion. I think I would call these findings as micro-nature. We also think the macro-nature, this Earth and the universe, and without nature we know that we will not have a clean air and clean water and safety food. There are studies showing that people who made long visits to green spaces have a lower rate of depression and a lower blood pressure. In Australia, there are better health outcomes for Indigenous people who participate in looking after country activities than those who do not participate in these activities. Also in Australia's Parks Victoria's Healthy Parks, Healthy People initiative has been a global leader in establishing a research agenda in this field and its practical application and implementation at the community level. It seems sound to conclude that knowing and experiencing nature makes us a generally happier, healthy people, and also healthy society. This is our knowledge, but where is our wisdom and will to apply it? If I do not find the will and the wisdom to change, and the consequences for the nature world and our physical and psychological well-being are very serious. So my number 4 points, it is that what do IUCN do to help in this field? IUCN's work program focuses on 3 key themes. First, conserving and valuing nature. Second, effective and equitable governance. And last but not least, deploy nature-based solutions to address global challenges. I'd like to elaborate one word about this nature-based solution. Now it seems that we have too much engineering solution, technical solution, cultural solution, social solution, political solution, economic solution. They are also important and play its role in its fields. But nevertheless, I think the solution based on universal nature law, it is that overarching guiding principle. So nature-based solution is our now one of the fundamental solutions to provide it. As we did that in 1980, we developed an idea for sustainable development. We work with many partners and supporters to implement a large and a diverse portfolio of conserved projects worldwide, combining the latest science with the traditional knowledge of local communities. These projects work to protect and restore nature ecosystem, reverse habitat loss, and improving people's livelihoods. Increasingly, our work is focusing on maintaining and restoring the ecosystems and the multiple benefits that nature provides, such as nutrient cycling and soil formation, the production of the food, fresh water, wood, fiber, and fuel, climate regulation, pollination, flood regulation, and water purification, as well as inspiration, education, and recreation. The hundreds of the projects that IUCN leads and participate in range from looking at how wild species used as food contribute to the maternal and the children's health, assessments and guidance on conserving the at least 80,000 or so planted species considered to have medical properties. Facilitating transboundary cooperation in river basin to unlock the potential of a healthy river basin to build climate resilience and to sustain ecosystem and livelihoods. Building capacities to manage protected areas and parks and sustain many services they provide. Technical assistance to better manage nature resources such as forest, fishery, wetland, wildlife population for conserving and improving livelihoods. Therefore, while our core objective is conserving nature, we are always looking to the multiple benefits that conserving nature brings to local communities and to regions and countries. As for human well-being. So that is why I also regard our organization, IUCN, not only just as conservation organization, but also as a development organization, sustainable development. The last point I want to say is SDGs. You know, being the member of the IUCN, we are so delighted to have sustainable development 2030 agenda. IUCN together with UN Environmental Program, UNEP, and WWF. It was the first organization in responding for UN's Conservation Strategy Report that IUCN lead to present to UN as early as 1980s, after there is just one Earth in the planet in 1972 of the Stockholm Conference, and before that of the Rome Club, that is the idea of the limitation of the growth. So IUCN put forward this sustainable development. Dear fellow colleagues, how long? It took 12 years for all the leaders to finally agree and aware of that. So hold the first World Rio de Janeiro Conference, that is Environment and Development Conference. And many conventions actually start from there. And originally, we as a human being, for instance, the English word originated from Greek, economy and ecology, from same family of the words. But we seem to separate them. Economic development, jobs from that of ecological service and the ecological environment. And again, it finally takes 35 years for all the leaders gathering in the UN Summit of Sustainable Development in the September of 2015, finally have this agreement of 2030 agenda. 35 years is long. It's post-2015 agenda. So 15 years after MDGs, 8 goals. It's long, but if we consider about the first industrial revolution started from Europe, it is already 270 years. So it's not too long. Finally, we are aware of that. We must shift from just given to the development, but must be sustainable development. So we are so delighted to finally to see that, and after that, in December, it is the Paris Climate Change Agreement. We are aware of that. If we do not shift mainly from the development into sustainable development, the Earth will increase 2 degrees centigrade by year of 2060. Half of the species will gone. So I want to reflect briefly on Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. with their ambitious focus on people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. I think we all share a passion for all these vital and mutually dependent elements. IUCN, like many international and national organizations and governments, have mapped and aligned its work with SDGs. What we have not yet done as an organization is get very far below the surface of these ambitious goals and their targets. We need to explore how we can most effectively use our resources and partnerships to accelerate and improve our efforts to achieve a just and equitable world that values and conserves nature, given our dependency on and vital connections between our nature world and the human health and well-being. We have an imperative to look after both. We should be doing that together. A major study in 2015 here in Victoria estimated the value of avoided healthcare costs from the work of Park Victoria at up to $200 million per year. Investment in protecting and conserving our nature world produces an enormous return for human health and well-being. Our two sectors faces fortunate and similar truths. Our nature world is not coping with what we have done to it and what we continue to do. Our health systems are also not coping. Health budgets are growing faster than economies can support them. Treatment costs escalate, and we seem to be losing the race against the bugs that are increasingly resistant to our strongest antibiotics. Both our sectors have similar strategies. In conservation, we are often focused on triage, saving what is most endangered. Usually, they are most attractive, while the more difficult issue of ecosystem health, whether of forest, wetland, coast, and oceans, is too complex, too large, and too costly. But repair work is far more expensive and less likely to succeed than prevention. For both our sectors, the cost of failing to act effectively at a system-wide scale are increasingly obvious. I'm sure that many of you think about these issues and imperative together. But how far into governments and government programs does this resonate? Not only government, but also private sectors, business decision-making. This morning, I was very encouraged to see that Victorian Environmental Minister launched her government's new biodiversity strategy at this Congress, that is 2017, Nature Capital with Biodiversity. Imagine, dear fellow colleagues, a public health strategy being launched instead of in the environmental, but in the Health and Conservation Congress. Where to now? Planetary health and human health are intricately linked, and we need to work urgently to build existing partnership and a program to find new ways to working together. It is important to describe and document our dependency on our nature world, but we need indicators and metrics that can clearly link efforts in one arena with payoff in another. Protecting a water catchment, conserving its biodiversity, and encouraging that it continues to deliver reliable supply for quality drinking water is good policy and practice. But it also avoid the future healthcare cost that will result from unreliable, poor quality water supply. Shouldn't that avoided cost help to fund the stewardship of that catchment? Surely we can calculate that avoided future cost of dealing with social exclusion or depression and use those savings to encourage and support outdoor activities in a nature environment. This is not just the government responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. These are areas where the private sectors and the civil society can and should play much more active roles. IUCN, given its breadth of membership, depth and diversity of expertise, and a primary focus on nature conservation, is an active thinker and partner in this work. At the World Conservation Congress last year, IUCN launched a new global campaign, Nature for All, which reminds me when I served as the president of UNESCO. We at that time have education for all and information for all. And information for all now, yes, thank you. And information for all now is everywhere. In China, even a countryside woman that's also sell her products in a microphone. So Nature for All now is high time. Let's work together to encourage a reconnection between people and nature. The campaign includes important focus on the health benefits of nature. We are looking to work more closely with the public health sector to encourage future generations can live on a planet that can support all its main inhabitants. Thank you.